like you spoke earlier about eldership. I know a lot of the journey of well-fed's birthing came from the transition of my grandmother. Like she was the matriarch. She was the healer of our household, of our family, truly, and my maternal matriarch. And her transition, I will always say this, my first memory of plant medicine working, well, really, my first memory of sisterhood, community, and plant medicine is watching my mother postpartumly being really nurtured and cared for by my grandmother and my aunt via a postpartum bath or a bang. That's the very first time I witnessed what sisterhood was, what community was, and what the plant's power is in our lives, right? Just like watching all the plants kind of submerge in the tub and watching my aunt kind of like beat my mother's back with the leaves. Like that's a memory that kind of hold that I always had and stayed really true to me. And I always told myself, like with the birthing of my first, if that were to happen, when and if, my grandmother would be the one to administer it because she had the knowing. No one else really knew. And so she transitioned. And because of her transition, I felt like it was almost as if all of the wisdom left with her. Right. And so I just like, it was like this, I felt this like, not a yearning, but like this deep, deep sadness, not just for the loss of our relationship in the physical, but just like this feeling of realizing like every tidbit of information that she had to share to heal and whatever it is that we needed left with her, right? Unbeknownst to me, realizing that of course she's always here and able to speak, but I felt really called to kind of like pick that up because that's a need in our family and that's what held us and helped us survive all these years, right? um so I kind of sidetracked it there. So well fed was really birthed off of that need of being like not the matriarchal hand, but to reclaim a lot of that lost wisdom that I felt was lost, but really it was just kind of tucked away somewhere that I had to kind of like unbury and dust off the book real quick just to kind of remember again. But yeah, so during COVID, I was afforded this beautiful opportunity because of the stillness, because of the quiet, because of the moments by ourselves. I was afforded such a beautiful privilege and opportunity to deepen my relationship with the plants, deepen my practice in how I took care of myself, deepen my practice on how I fed myself. Not just what I was consuming via like scrolling and reading, but like the foods, like deepening my relationship to going out and foraging for food and identifying the plants that were growing around me and seeing how they could be useful in the home and just like simplifying the practice, but also not realizing just how monumental it was because this was a bit of a lost art that I didn't even know it was a lost art. But because our grandmothers were doing this, like our great grands were all doing this, and we lost it because of just the demands of cultural society that we live in now. But yeah, that moment of stillness that we all had really allowed me to deepen into that purpose work, I feel. And I'm forever grateful for it because it allowed me to reconnect to sacred ancestral knowing. It allowed me to connect to the whispers of the land that I sit on, that's around me, right? Those indigenous folk that I might not know their names or what they look like, but their intelligence is like sitting in the soil, right? And it's birthed with every plant that's kind of sprouting up. And deepening the relationship with myself, like really taking the time to deep dive in who I was, what my needs were, what I wanted, what were the things that kept me well, what were the things that fed me. And I just wanted to share that. Like wanted to share every step of that because I felt that that was a little piece that was missing around me. I didn't see many of my elder women around me really dedicate the time to doing that because they just didn't have the time, right, or the resources to do it. So um, yeah, that's how well fed was birthed. And with that came the food shares. And I think that's probably the best part of it for me was going back into the kitchen and just again using the plants to transform and like create some of the most delicious plant-based meals and like realizing wow, like we have everything we need right at our feet. and we don't really need all the extra that we thought we did. And simplifying things, but still making it beautiful, because I think nature is just as gorgeous as ever. So why not like show that for ourselves, you know?